Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We are going to run our intro and we'll be right back. Miss I found it. All right, we are back. Again, welcome guys to this week's edition. I have my wonderful co-host here. I'm gonna start with the awesome Shanetta.
Hey.
We have the wonderful Tangela.
Good evening.
And we have our birthday girl of the month, Katrina.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. So thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight. It is always a pleasure to be in you guys' company. So as we said, this month is Katrina's birthday. So happiest of birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sure in one way or another she will be getting birthday accolades all month long. And also we know that March is Women's Month. So if you didn't know, now you know. March is Women's Month. And I believe today was like National Women's Day.
Yeah.
So to all the women, we tip our hats to you. You are enough, you are wonderful, and you are doing an awesome job. So tonight our topic is, hey Lisa, thanks for joining us. Our topic is, do you feel pressured to be something you're not? Now, we all operate in different, I don't know, industries. It could be work related. It could be happy birthday, Trina.
Thank you.
It could be in any area of your life. It could be in your family. You know, they forced you into a box in any area. So, do you feel that pressure? And if so, in what areas, ladies?
I think. Go ahead, Tangela.
Um, the only time I feel that pressure is in my motherhood. And I think that's the area that I'm most sensitive. Um, I knew I was pregnant with my youngest at the same time a friend of mine was. So, our kids were, around the same, age. And so we're, of course, swapping stories. And she's like hand making all of these vegan dishes and baby food and stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like buying off the shelf. I'm barely breastfeeding. So there was a time where I was feeling, that pressure to be something that I wasn't. And it did cause some insecurity for me.
Okay.
I would definitely piggyback on that. I think the motherhood journey definitely makes you question like when you look and you say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing, and then you look and see what somebody else is doing, and you're like, well, I thought I was doing enough. I thought I was doing it right. I thought I was doing good. And you feel that pressure to want to do more. I think that happens. I can't say all because I don't know all women, but I feel like that's something that happens to all women. I feel like that's something that a lot of us go through, especially when you're a new mom and it's just like you have this first kid and you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just out here trying to figure it out, piece it all together, and trying like that piece of it all in and up. That's like a whole, like, I guess, text or story all by itself, the journey of motherhood and the pressures that we feel from society, whether it's the choice of breastfeeding or formula feeding, whether it's the choice of like, do I cut his hair before he's one, or do I wait until after the baby turns, all those old traditions that we kind of like we take in and we're like trying to figure out, well, which ones do I keep, which ones do I do, What do I not do? I felt all of that. And then I'll say this too with my husband. I felt like he was a know-it-all. And I felt like there was this moment where I was like, can I just have this? Can I just do this? Can I just experience my first baby by myself without you telling me everything that I need to do? Like, can you go somewhere for a minute? So I had pressure from him too, where I had to literally ask him to kind of back off and let me figure it out. Like, let me figure out why he's crying. Let me figure out what's going on with them. Like, let me mother him for a minute. I think you get like, and it's not even, I think it's unintentional sometimes when people put pressures on you that, you know, because they're just telling you all their advice. They're just telling you all the things that, you know, they think, well, oh, well, you know, you gotta flip him on his stomach and wrap him up in the blanket and pat him a couple of times and he gonna be just fine. And you're like, but that doesn't work for my baby and I don't want to do that.
Right.
So I definitely think the motherhood journey is a lot of pressure to try to figure it out before you find your own groove. I think work and trying to figure out your groove with a career sometimes, because we have to kind of switch who we are or how we operate, not necessarily who we are, but how we operate from home life to work life to, you know, whatever else you're into and whatever else you're doing. I think sometimes you can feel pressure there too to try to make sure you're up here when it matters to you, making sure that you perform well in work, and that can be a lot of pressure sometimes too.
I would agree.
I will say, like with the baby thing, like I tried that whole make all the food yourself, you know, mainly because I'm over the top, and I just thought like, you know, it took me so long to have these kids, you know, because it took us, a lot of years to have these kids. So I thought, you know, like I had to do everything like myself, but that quickly faded. Like the amount of time alone that went into just making something, and by the time you make it, it'd be like a scoop. Like that was the most disappointing part. You know, put all that work in. So yeah, I went through that, and then the whole breastfeeding thing. I don't know, my body just wouldn't cooperate. It wouldn't do right, or it wouldn't do what I thought it was supposed to be doing in that moment. But I think for me, like those pressures are kind of like I put on myself.
Yeah.
You know, like that I needed to be super mom.
Yeah.
You know, like that was kind of stuff that was self-inflicted.
I was gonna do the cloth diaper thing.
No, I'm never doing that.
I talked about it. I was like, okay, we're gonna do cloth diapers. We're gonna do all this. I don't even think we made it like we ever did the cloth. We did them as burp cloths. That was about it.
Right.
Like I had literally started preparing like to do the cloth diaper thing because I just felt like, you know, this has to be the right way, you know, the right way to mother your new baby. I'm not gonna wash all that stuff. I was like, no.
Yeah, the washing of it, but then just like every time you pee, now you know it's coming through all the time. So that was a quick deterrent, right? Like so that deterred me from the cloth diapers. Yeah, I wasn't that zealous about it. I was okay with the ones I could trash. So definitely. So Trina, have you felt
I think like everyone said, like I remember as a new mom, I felt pressured to breastfeed longer than I did and longer than I was comfortable with. I think I breastfed one 9 months and the other like 6 months, and I started transitioning because it was just a lot back at work and all that stuff. But I felt bad, like, oh, I'm supposed to breastfeed at least a year, and I just, you know, I felt so much pressure to do it longer. I think now I kind of feel pressure with my business. I feel like I should feel pressure to grow faster. And I remember when I was leaving my job and I was telling the boss that what I was going to do, his first thing was, oh, so you're going to have multiple centers? And I was like, hold on, I'm just getting, you know, walking out the door. It's like so much pressure to you know, expand and grow and be this big you know, and that really wasn't the vision that I had, but it's still pressure even now to, take your business and be, some big, conglomerate or whatever. And I think the other thing that I kind of feel is that I have friends who are like doing very well in their businesses, and I feel like they're so fabulous. Like, they're taking vacations and they have their second home or whatever. So I feel pressure to be fabulous. Fabulous.
Oh. Okay, so some of your pressures are self-inflicted, and then some are like perceived pressure.
Oh,
Maybe.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so in your mind, like, I know in that moment when you feel the pressure, you just like, oh, like once you're like, because in my mind I'm thinking it's like comes on in waves. Like, sometimes you feel the weight of it and the pressure, and then it's like, okay, and you don't feel it. So in those moments when you don't feel it, like, what is your thoughts? Do you think back on it? Do you kind of, talk to yourself? What's kind of like your MO?
I know for me, once upon a time, I think kind of right after I had my oldest daughter, I was kind of going back and forth about wanting to be a stay-at-home mom. Did I want to come off of my job to work, to be at home full time? And after a while, I realized that that's not what I want to do. I enjoy being in corporate America. I enjoy, going to work. I enjoy, I have a skill set that I've been able to kind of hone, and I found an environment that allows me to grow and thrive. And so, although it causes some um, its own set of pressure, I still feel successful at what I do. So I don't know if I would have that same level of enjoyment being a stay-at-home mom. So I finally got over that pressure of, okay, well, this is how, it's supposed to be. So it goes from one person to another. So now it's like, well, am I giving my kids enough time? Am I present enough? But if I'm looking solely at who am I supposed to be, I feel like, even after the soul searching, I think at that point in time, I was going through a transition with my job. So that kind of compounded, that feeling like maybe I just want to be a stay-at-home, mom. But at this point, I'm glad I didn't make that choice, because I'm glad for where my career is taking me. And I feel, like I'm hitting my stride.
I think, somewhat of maybe an opposite experience where I decided to be a stay-at-home mom when my kids were small. And I had the pressure of, when do I go back to work? And the pressure of, is this the right decision? Because financially it was harder on my family than me making the choice not to work. And it was like right after I had finished my degree, so everybody is looking at me like, you have this whole college degree, are you gonna go use it? When are you gonna use it? I can remember, Lord, I don't know if my mother-in-law will watch this show or not, but here we go. I remember every year we would always go to Florida to visit, and my mother-in-law would always ask, so when are you going to go back to work? So when are you going to go back to work? And she would ask me that every year. And when I tell you that, I would always come up with an answer, and it would just be, the nice little polite answer, but it was a lot of pressure. And I knew it was coming every single time we went. So this one particular trip, I had told my husband, I was like, if your mama asks me when I'm going back to work, I'm going to say never. And I'm just like, I had this whole elaborate answer of how I was going to like be flipping the mouth and everything. That particular trip, she never even asked. And I was like, I was ready this time. And she never asked again. And not long after that, I actually decided and made the decision, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. And but it was a lot of pressure being that stay-at-home mom, because it was like, well, you don't do anything, you just stay at home. And it was like, no, like I have a busier life being at home with these kids
That's a lot
than I ever had, being out in the workforce. But for each person, I think the experiences are different, but people did, make me feel like I wasn't good enough or I wasn't valuable enough because I was a stay-at-home mom. And then when I went back to work, I felt like I wasn't a good enough mom because I was at work all the time. So then I don't remember what year it was, but I turned around. I know y'all seen me turn around for a second. I turned around to grab this book off of my bookcase because at one point I felt like I was a bad mom. So I came across this book somewhere, and the name of the book is Good Enough Mother. And my son just looked at me like, what? But yeah, I did have that experience. Like, are y'all going for a ride? I'm sorry. I got distracted. I felt like I was a bad mom. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read this book. And I read this book. And when I tell you that it really helped my life, like it just helped me to figure out that I'm not that bad. Like the lady talks about, she like lost one of her kids somewhere out in public. She talked about like how one night for like 3 or 4 nights straight, I think they ate like cereal for dinner. And it was just kind of like, oh, so I'm not the only one out here just randomly coming home. Like, I don't feel like cooking. Let's eat cereal. And this is okay. And she was like, I think like a newscaster or something like that. And so she work. She's on TV every day. She's looking all put together and beautiful. And then coming home and she's like a hot mess. And reading through the book kind of really helped me to kind of put some things into perspective and realize that sometimes I put too much pressure on myself. Sometimes I let the images that we see of other people, whether it's on TV or whether it's like, I watch a lot of reality TV. So like you compare your own life to like reality shows. And I'm like, but you're not making $75,000 an episode, ma'am. You don't have any episodes. So like you can't do what they do. Right. You can't live the way they're living. But even if they make the same amount of money that you make, you don't know what's happening behind their closed doors as to why they move and operate the way they do. So all of that being said, you can't take the pressure of what you see somebody else's life being and try to compare your own life to it.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. So I will say, like so I got married at 21. We got married at 21. And it took 10 years for us to have children. So for 10 years, people, every time we would go somewhere, it was, yeah, they had no kids yet. You're not pregnant yet. And I mean, it had gotten so bad, like, I didn't want to go outside anymore. Yeah. Like, I didn't want to go to group gatherings. I didn't want to be around people. I mean, and it wasn't like people that were close to me because, of course, they knew like my internal feeling, kind of about it. But it was like, people that you just know, like, and the pressure, like, it kind of almost got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to start videotaping us working on this baby so I can show people, look, we working on it. Like, I mean, it just gotten... because it's almost like you asking me, are y'all having enough sex? You know what I mean? Like, are y'all doing it okay at all? It kind of got to where it was feeling like that because people were asking all the time. So the pressure at that point, like, it was super, super bad. Like, he'd be wanting to go places and I wouldn't go. Like, I couldn't face people because I couldn't keep trying to give the polite answer, and smile or whatever. Because it was something that was like really, really affecting me. So that was a hard time. And then like church, like, my husband is who he is. And then people expect you to look a certain way. So, they wanted me to put on the suits and the stockings and I'm sorry. I have an aversion to stockings. I stopped wearing stockings years ago. I don't care how anybody feels about it. I'm just not wearing them. So like, like the pressure to like look like everybody else, or like that's how I felt anyway. And
a birthday gift for you is a hat and 2-piece suit with some stockings and some kitten heels.
Listen, so at one point it had gotten bad, and so my husband, like I said, okay, fine, I'm gonna make you happy because obviously they gonna harass you, you gonna keep harassing me. And then like I bought some of the suits. Like, but I go to church feeling like I don't even want to be there. You know, like it's like the pressure of trying to look like everybody else or trying to look like what you think I should. That had gotten really whatever. And to the point where I just like gave them all away. I don't care. I'm not wearing it. Like I have to dress, like I have to be comfortable. And like just being able to stand up for myself like made a big difference. But I feel like, it's a pressure that, oh, you're supposed to look like this because your husband has this title. You're supposed to do this because, and so like that in past times has been like a real pressure thing for
Absolutely.
me, especially when I was younger. Like now that I'm older, I don't care. Like for me now, I don't feel the pressure to do like, I process things differently now.
Yeah.
Than when I was younger. I could allow somebody to make me feel bad based on what you think I should be. Like now I don't struggle with those things. Not things like that anymore.
Yeah. I definitely had that pressure of just being a minister's wife and moving on to like the elder's wife. But I don't even think it was intentional, like anybody intentionally trying to put the pressure on me necessarily. I think it was more so the experience of I would go into atmospheres, and when I walked into that atmosphere, I would be the only one in regular, comfortable clothes, and every other preacher's wife would be sitting there in a hat and pearls. And I had an aversion to wearing pearls for a very long time. I just started wearing them maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, where I was like, okay, I just felt like pearls were for old ladies.
Right.
And I just like people would give them to me like as gifts, and I would not put pearls on. Like I would put them on my daughter every year for Easter because I felt like she should have pearls on at Easter time, but I would not put on a pair of pearl earrings. Like it was crazy for me. And then one day I did, and I was like, oh, I like pearls. But like I would walk into rooms and walk into places where there were other ministers' wives, or we would go somewhere, we would go with some of his friends, and I would be like, okay, they all have on hats, they all have on these suits, they all have on, and it was like, am I supposed to dress like that? I don't even feel comfortable. That doesn't even look comfortable for them. So it was kind of like a process of me trying to figure out my place of what looked nice and what was comfortable, and kind of find a happy. Now I wasn't out there wearing, like cut off shorts and t-shirts to the church functions or nothing like that. But I was also I've always have been a person that I dress how I feel. I dress for comfort. You give me a good pair of sweats, and I am probably going to be like the happiest person on the planet versus, a dress any day of the week. But I had to kind of figure out what was my place without the pressure of what I thought people were trying to, make me dress like. People would give me clothes and that kind of stuff when I first started like really, really going to church, and I was like, but this isn't really me, or this is me, this is comfortable. And I had to kind of figure out what my look was and what worked for me. And there are still days now where I'm just like, this is not a Holy Fellowship look, but like whatever, man, this is what I'm putting on today. And y'all gonna get what you get on Sunday morning. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. But I mean, that's where I've kind of like taken off the pressure of what I should look like at a particular time. Even with my daughter, she when she decided that she wanted to dye her hair, or she wanted all this color hair, it was just kind of like for me like, oh, but you are an elder's daughter, you should not. And I was like, at a certain point I was like, but if I don't let her do it, like, what does that look like? How does that, And we went to AIM, and she was in the pageant. She was in the Young Women of Excellence pageant. And we got there, and when we got in town, it was like I knew her hair was colored, but it was like when we hit North Carolina that year, I turned and looked at her in the car, and I was like, "Oh my God, your hair is blue. You're about to be in this whole pageant in the Church of God in Christ with blue hair." And everywhere we went, people remembered her because her hair was blue. And it was like, "Oh yeah, the girl with the blue hair. I know who you're talking about." And it was just like her thing. It was like her mark. But for me, in that moment, when I had that realization, it was kind of like pressure in that moment. Like, is she going to be looked at differently? Is she going to be looked at badly? Is this good enough? And not only did she have blue hair, she had not a cutoff dress, but it was like a shoulder. Yes, it was sleek, like a off the shoulder type dress. And I was like, and so that day of the pageant, I had to go find her, because that part didn't fly. I had to go find her a wrap to put on to make sure that her shoulders were covered during the pageant. And I hadn't even thought about it. I just ordered that dress, and we tried it on. We took all these pictures, we were all prepared. And that day it was like, you can't go out there like that. I gotta fix this. So I was running around trying to fix that piece of it before the pageant, which was like.
So have you guys felt any of the pressure? Like, you said you watch a lot of reality shows, like to, some societal pressures. Like, now it's either you gotta be a boss chick, or you gotta be militant, out there with Black Lives Matter, or you gotta be the ones, that get inflated and deflated and what is it, snatched and get snatched and tucked. And I mean, so have y'all felt any of those pressures just from the outside world, like from society, maybe?
I think most women that I know, I'm not going to say all, there's automatically kind of this spirit of comparison. I think social media amplifies it because it allows people to post themselves at the absolute best. And a lot of times we compare our worst to someone else's best, not knowing context, not knowing details, not knowing the backstory. So I think there's an element of, I don't know if it's deception that we kind of give into, because we're looking at these images and they're telling us this is the good life, this is the best life. If you're not doing this and you're not popping, and so it's a lot that's kind of thrown at you. And if you aren't clear about who God made you as a person, then yes, it could have an impact on how you view yourself. And I've dealt with that, and still trying to keep that under control and keep that girl quiet, So I try to. My prayer is, God, let me see myself as you see me. And if that's a boss chick or not, everybody can't be a boss chick. So I leave that to the boss girls. Maybe God has a different lane for me. But I think, we have to be careful. Like I said, especially engaging in social media, because it's a constant barrage of, you're not enough. Why don't you have your degrees by now? Why are your kids doing this? Or why are you driving this? Or why are you not living here? So we have to kind of take those things with a grain of salt.
I would agree with that.
I feel like for me, social media as well, but not in that regard. For me, the pressure with social media is I feel pressure to post more. I feel pressure to comment on people's posts and like everything and all this. I mean, not all the time, but sometimes it's just really, it's not my thing. I like to be on there and I like to look, but I don't really like to engage. Right. But I feel pressure to engage because people, when I do post stuff, then people are engaging with me, and then I was now I got to engage back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I feel pressure, and so my thing is when I'm scrolling, if I like something, I have to really like it. So I feel like some people they scroll like, but me, I'm scroll. Ooh, I really like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know how to express to you that if you got a like from me, I really like what you posted. You know what I'm saying? So it's just I do feel pressure to, oh, I gotta comment on this post. I gotta comment, or I don't want somebody to feel like, oh, that she didn't comment. And it's just like social media is not really my thing. I mean, I like it, but I don't really like to engage that much. But I try just because, I don't want people to feel like I'm not acknowledging their stuff, their posts and stuff. I don't know.
I will say with social media, the only thing I feel pressure is to say happy birthday to everybody. Oh my God. Like, when you going down, like you can get on one day and in one day it can be like 7 people's birthdays. Now, mind you, I haven't even seen you since high school. I'm not even sure if I liked you in high school. Now I gotta feel pressured to say happy birthday. Like, that is where I feel pressure. As silly as it may sound, like
it's not silly. I feel it.
Because it's like, I'm on your
sends you a notification to remind you to tell the person happy birthday.
Yeah, but it'd be too many people. And then I'm like, and then it's bad. Like, okay, so like, Trina, your birthday, okay. I've known you for 30 plus years, right? So I feel like if I go on Trina's birthday, right, I'm like, oh, happy birthday, you're so great. The years you're getting better with wine and dinner. And then the next person, I'm just like, happy birthday. Like,
people are looking at me. I don't know. That's
they're really looking for something.
Compare, your response. Every happy birthday response that Sam has responded to, and compare who had the most content. That's a lot for an individual to.
Yeah, but I've had people text me and like, you didn't say happy birthday to me on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, like
interesting.
So I mean, so when I think about it like that, some days I go down to people's birthday, I won't say happy birthday to nobody. But I'm just like, today I ain't doing birthdays. Today is a no birthday day. Like, I'm just over it. Like, that's why I don't even put my birthday on Facebook, because I don't want nobody to feel pressure. To say happy birthday to me. If you don't know me and you don't know it's my birthday, I'm fine with that. Facebook don't need to tell you. Just leave me alone.
Like for me, if we're good, if we're friends, you're gonna get a text message from me on your birthday. I'm gonna text you because I want you to know personally. It's not about Facebook. I'm gonna send you a greeting and I'm gonna say happy birthday. That's probably all it's gonna be. But know that that's big for me. That I remembered your birthday and I sent you a text message and I gave you emojis.
Listen, if I know like you're like Shanetta, I'm gonna text her. Right. I'm gonna put it on Facebook. Like, I'm gonna put it in the group because her birthday is her thing. Like, she loved it. The more happy birthdays, the happier, like her day is. But
now, no pressure, but it comes around every year in September.
Absolutely. Listen, but that is about the only pressure I feel from social media, because I realize even when I posted a picture of myself, or when you have people taking pictures, right? You like, they're like, oh, 1, 2, 3, you like take 2 just in case that one don't look good. I've seen people take bunches of, like my sister, if she watches this, she's gonna kill me after this show. But one day she had my mama take like 6 pictures of her. She only wanted to post like 1, right? My mom took 6 pictures. She went through every picture. No. Oh, all those are bad. Sam, take some pictures. So now I take like 6, 7 more. Oh, I don't like this one. Oh, and I don't even think she ever posted one of them. But she went through all these pictures. And in my mind, I was like, girl, you cute. No, she fat, So I think about that when I see people like on Facebook. You probably took 90 pictures
to get that one.
Yeah, it's true.
that you think is so fabulous. Like, so, like I don't really, I'm with you, Trina. Facebook is entertainment. Now I will get on there because I want to see, oh, so you're arguing with your husband this week, huh? Because people, they argue on Facebook, they atting people, they throwing up subliminals, like, I'll sit there and I'll be entertained by all of that. But social media doesn't really like affect me like that. I don't think I've ever really seen anything that I'm like, ooh, I need to, whatever. Like when they be like, oh, don't you want to have your beach buddy? I'm like, listen, when I get to the beach, he's getting whatever body I bring with me. That's all I got. Like, and I can tell myself whatever I want, but I know when it's time to get up and do something, I'm tired. So like, so stuff like that doesn't really bother me, make me feel too pressured to be or look like the stuff that I see. But it is definitely entertaining. I will say that. I will scroll and go from one page to the next. Like with an argument, yes, I'm bad. I will go to your page. Oh, who put that comment? And I will do that, but I don't feel the pressure on social media for any of those things.
I don't think for me, body image has never been an impact with like social media or like magazines or like, any of the stuff that we've had where like, you have that pressure of like what your body looks like and working out and, having, the snatched waist and all that kind of stuff. That's never been a pressure for me. For me, it was more so like health and wanting to be more healthy, but then not having the discipline to carry it out is where I would kind of like, I would fall short every single time. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go on this diet and, I'm going to try this diet and I'm going to try that diet. And it will last like a half a day. Cause I can't even tell you that I would last like 2 days. People be like, oh, I lasted. I'd be like a half day in and I'd be like, I quit, not doing this. Can't do it. I quit already, but it was never, the pressure to look a certain kind of way or feel, a certain kind of way to fit in with, any particular group of, body image or women or anything like that. And I've never been a fashionable person. So that would never get me either. Like I've always been like a whatever's comfortable person. So like, even like the current fashions, I think I was talking about this last night with my husband. So he was talking about being into shoes. And I was like, I'm not into shoes. I don't care. He was like, not the Louis Vuittons or not the, and I was like, I really don't care. And if the shoe costs more than $29, I probably don't want it. If we go to $29.99, I might be doing good with buying it. But if it costs more than that, I probably don't even want the shoes. So, but I don't feel that pressure. One of the kids in my class told me, we were doing vocabulary words and the word was frugal. And he was like, yeah, Miss McNair is frugal because she won't buy expensive shoes. And I was like, and you're right. I will not buy those expensive shoes because I'm frugal. And then he was like, because teachers are poor. That's why she has to be frugal.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow. Whatever you think, kid.
Wow.
But, like ultimately, like I'm just not into it. It's not something that, it doesn't move me in that way.
Another pressure that I do feel is kind of like with personality types. I'm an introvert by nature. I will engage, but I get my energy from solitude. So if I've engaged a lot, I'm going to need some time. And sometimes I feel pressure to kind of be on a lot. And it takes a lot. It literally takes a lot. I was in a workshop today at work, and it was a lot of information. It was a lot. And I was talking to my husband on the way home, and I guess he could tell that I wasn't engaged in the conversation. He said, okay, I'm gonna let you kind of recharge because I wasn't engaged. And my personality type, it requires me to kind of recharge after I've spent out a lot of energy. But I have a sister who, at the drop of a dime, is ready to party. You know, I don't even think she, you know, we're the opposite when it comes to that. She doesn't like being by herself, and I prefer to be by myself. But when I have to engage with other people, it takes a lot out of my mama call it my social battery.
Right.
And so sometimes I do feel pressure to just kind of turn it on when really, you know, I'm like, I need a charge. I need to connect to somebody charger because this is getting low.
Yeah. I completely understand that. Like I had a big weekend out with everybody doing everything for my birthday, whatever. But yesterday, completely nothing. And I planned it that way. I planned it that way because I need to, after so much socialization, like I can't, like I don't have any more. And I completely understand what you mean. Like I feel that. And so I planned that one day, Monday, I took off, I closed daycare. I was like, I need my day. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll get some work done. Girl, I was in that bed the whole day and felt fabulous. Fabulous, because that's what I needed. I needed that woosah, ooh, decompress, and then I was good for today. So yeah.
I could say, I only get like that if it's something I don't want to do. Like, you know, if it's, oh, come up and we gotta go here because somebody's expecting us. Then it's like, you know, then it's draining. But like when it's something, you know, that I want to do or someplace that I want to be, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
of course, you know, once I'm home, like, you know, like after our couples trip, when I get home that day, oh, like, that's it. The kids, you know, they waiting for us to get back in town, and I ain't got nothing. And I'm like, this weekend has got all of me. You guys, I need some time, and that's just from the work of it or whatever. But during the process, it's like it's great. I don't feel drained until after.
Yeah.
But like when it's something I don't want to do, it's like the whole time I'm sitting there like, you know, like it's a chore to have a conversation with somebody, you know, because I would rather not be here. You know, I'm just here because sorry, I think about, you know, I know y'all probably don't watch football like that, but the football player that that he kept saying, I'm just here so I don't get fined. So when it comes to places, you know, like that I'd rather not be, or people that I really don't want to interact with, you know, but I'm kind of forced, then it's kind of like, I'm just here because I'm supposed to be here. Like that's a chore. But when it's something I want to do, listen, I could be in the bed and let it be someplace I want to be, or like somebody I want to talk to. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm good. But yeah, it has to be something that I'm not like really interested in.
Yeah. I think for me, there are moments or there are days where I have like a word limit. And I feel like, okay, I've reached my limit. I have no more words. I have nothing else to say. And I'm just exhausted and I just don't want to do anything.
Right.
And like when I said that the other day, I was driving home from work and I was talking to Mike and I was like, I think I reached my word limit for today. And he was like, no, you haven't. And I was like, okay, let me rephrase that. I think I reached my word limit with them today.
Right, with everybody else.
To say to you.
Right.
And he was like, exactly, because you're not going to stop talking. But I had reached my word limit with people on the outside, but I still needed to tell him about all the things that caused me to reach my word limit.
Yeah.
So I still had to kind of get, you know, that part out. But I do think I have moments where I just like, I have nothing else to give. And sometimes, you know, you get that pressure to keep giving when you're kind of tapped out and you're out of things to give. And it's just kind of like, okay, I got to get some more energy so that I can give more. Cause right now I have nothing to give. But I think we all have those moments where it's just like, it's exhausting sometimes to just get through, you know, situations, especially when they're uncomfortable or hard. I think that's where most of when you have a situation that's super uncomfortable for you, that's more draining and more exhausting than, going a whole week and doing something that you absolutely love, to do. But for me it is. I can just get to the place where I've just kind of worked myself up to the point where when it finally happens, it's like, oh, okay, this is my everything. This is all I have. This is all I got. Or when you tire yourself out to that point too.
I totally agree. So okay, so we're all women of color. So do you feel any added pressure, being a woman of color? Trina, you're a woman of color that have your own business, that you're starting, small business owner. I don't mean small in a derogatory way. So I don't want to make like I'm trying to help you a little bit, like not like that. I just mean
No, I didn't take it that way.
okay. just want to be clear. Do you feel any added pressure, being a woman of color and venturing into that area?
I feel I feel some pressure to make sure my business is not any of those stereotypical things that a Black business is. So I feel pressure to make sure um, I'm returning phone calls. I mean, these are things I would do anyway, but I feel extra pressure to make sure that's why I don't support Black business anyway.
Right.
No, you're not. You're not gonna have any excuse to say that about my business. You know what I mean? So, like, I try to make sure, when you come for your tour, I'm on time. I'm returning phone calls. I'm following up. Whatever it is I need to do to make sure. I just feel extra pressure to make sure you can't say any of those things about my business.
And Trina, I was thinking about it kind of in the workplace. There's sometimes I feel the pressure to kind of dispel the angry
Right.
Black woman
Yep.
stereotype because I've worked with them. So I know that, that stereotype definitely exists. So sometimes I feel like I have to be over, you know, um, accommodating or overly polite
Mhm.
just so, I don't get the stereotype of, the angry Black woman, mad at the world, hard to get along with, hard to work with. Um,
Right.
not, I don't think I am anyway, but that is something, especially when I'm dealing with counterparts that's not a part of my demographic.
Right.
So sometimes I feel, kind of that pressure to, I don't know how to phrase it or represent or, you
Mhm.
know, I don't know. And I don't think it's to make the other person comfortable, but almost like I want to carry, the Black woman title in a gracious way so
Right.
that I'm not labeled or you don't have an interaction with the Black woman that is a negative one.
Right. I
Yeah.
think it's positive representation.
Mhm.
A lot of times we feel the pressure to be the difference. We feel the pressure to be a different experience for someone, whether they truly had that experience or they've made it up in their mind or whatever the case may be. We feel the pressure to prove to them that we're not like that, that as a group, you feel the pressure to not misrepresent your group. And I think a lot of times, like when you walk into a room and you're the only Black person in the room, you feel the pressure to not, be viewed as less than. So when it comes to being a Black woman and knowing that so many people have stereotyped us as being angry without just cause, you kind of take on that pressure of, okay, let me, even if I am feeling offended, even if I have the right to be, upset in this moment, we sit back and think, but then will they hear me the way that I need to be heard if I respond that way, or if I respond, in a way that I'm justified to respond. um I think that in and of itself is like pressure when we walk into places of business, whatever we're doing. I can remember, and this is me like jumping to even in that because I wanted to respond to what you guys were saying with that. when I was operating my business and I made the decision to close it, one of my girlfriends, a good girlfriend of mine, we were talking about it. We were talking about the decision. And she said, well, what are you representing for your daughter if you close down the business? Like, what is that going to say to her? And I was like, it's going to say to her, like, sometimes you have to make hard choices. And here's one. And your mom is making one. And by golly, we're going to survive this hard choice.
Right.
But I felt so much pressure in that moment that it was like, well, am I making the right, I knew I was making the right decision, but it was just kind of like the way that the question came at me. And I don't think she meant it like that way. I'm always making excuses for people. I don't know how she meant it. But I just like in that moment, it just felt like a lot. And it was like, like she was throwing the pressure of I'm being, I'm representing, Black women in business the wrong way because I made a decision to stop at this point. And I really had to kind of like grapple with that idea of, no, I'm showing her that sometimes things don't work out as we plan. And if it doesn't work out as I planned it to work out, that's okay. We will survive this too. We'll be able to pick up the pieces and kind of move on. But had I not been, who I am, maybe that would have shaken, me and shaken my decision and, caused me to do something that I couldn't afford to do or didn't need to be continuing to do because it would have turned out to be much worse. So I think you get pressures from all kinds of places. It's a matter of how you take them. And what does the older people say? Chew the fat and
spit out the bones.
Yeah, that part.
Listen, I see Richard, he said there's plenty of angry people though. And I think about that because how come, when our counterparts, other races, they can go off, they can attack people and they never get labeled. But when it comes to me, I'm supposed to swallow hard, bite my tongue and just let you leave footprints across my face because I'm a woman of color. And I know that's a whole nother conversation because
I don't think that's what that's thinking. I think the reality is that as Black women, we have to be mindful. I don't think that means that we have to be a doormat, but I think because the stereotype exists and some people will use that to weaponize Black women, we have to make sure that we are cognizant of how we're showing up. I think that's what that means. I don't see that as an excuse to allow people to say whatever they want to say, but I believe that there's a way you can do it without, as they say, snatching dreams and popping the neck. And I think that's what the TV stereotypes, media, TV, music, film, that's what they stereotype. So sometimes that's what they're expecting. So I think there's a way to convey the same point without giving into those stereotypes.
Well, yeah. I mean, like the whole popping of the neck. I don't know if it goes that far, but I'm not going to. And this is a personal thing. Like for me, I'm not going to think twice about how I stand up for myself because of fear of what you might say about a Black woman. Like I don't. That's not something I'm going to do. Now, naturally, I'm not going to be out here, like all the neck popping and and cussing people out. But I am going to stand up for myself when I feel I need to, and I'm not going to not stand up for myself because I'm worried about how you're going to think a Black woman should respond. Like
Agree.
That part, because I mean we've all seen the videos, especially as of late. Like these women, they out there acting a whole fool, and there's been no big label that now you're the angry Caucasian woman. Like they can get away with it, But us,
you do have the Karen movement. Now,
but that's us calling them a Karen. Like
but you have their counterpart. You have people of their demographic labeling them as Karens as well. Of course, it's recent and it's not as deep as it has been for Black women. But I think again that may be a byproduct of social media is being captured. You know, it's being filmed.
I mean, I think a part of it also is just being women. Just being women. Um, a woman, even a white woman, is labeled a B or aggressive, while a man
That's
is
right.
labeled assertive, and he's a boss, and he's a whale. They call him a whale because he takes, he.
Right.
But then, white or Black woman, then they have to be a B, or they have to be, too aggressive or whatever. And I think a lot of times it's a man woman thing as well. And I think that Black women have taken that corporate read to the next level, because if you read an email from a Black woman who's putting you in your place, it seems nice and so, and pleasant. But then when you really read it,
she got you together
gathered you all the way up.
all the way.
And it's like it's something that we've had to do, so we don't do the. But you just got gathered, and it's okay, because that's what we've had to do. We've had to take that and put it into the corporate world and make it so that
Right.
and again, I really think a lot of it has to do with that male female thing as well, more so with Black women, but I think all women have to, I think we're at the point where we're like, I'm not going to I'm not going to downplay myself or who I am and not be assertive and not, because all of a sudden now I'm a B or I'm too aggressive. Meanwhile, you're doing the same thing, being mediocre and getting promoted. Like, stop it.
Right. I totally agree. Well, we definitely can all agree on the fact that pressures come from all different angles. In a week, 1 week you could face pressure from this side, or next week it could be from a different direction, because we all are human and we all are out here trying to manage our lives and our families and our careers. And so the weight sometimes can get heavy. I think the message tonight is, just from hearing the different examples, is just not to let the weight crush you. Not to let the pressure crush you. To be able to kind of get up, dust yourself off, keep moving. That's our message, to be able to adjust and move forward. Sometimes you have to acknowledge where pressures are coming from. It might be one particular place, and you might need to minimize your contact or minimize your interaction because the pressure from that area is just too much. So self-reflection helps a lot, for you to be aware of what is weighty for you, what's more heavy, what costs more for you in your life. It's always good to be aware of those, aware of those things. As always, we have the conversations. We just want to be able to inspire you to move through things, let you know you're not the only person. You're not the only person that has dealt with this. You're not the only woman that has felt this. We're all different, but we have a lot of the same experiences. So where I may deal with something one way, Trina's going to deal with it a different way. But at the end of the day, you get options. You get an answer. One may work for you, the other one may not. So we hope that our conversations inspire you to good works, or at the very least gives you options of how to deal with your everyday. As always, we are on here every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Me and my wonderful co-hosts, that they join me weekly. So I just want to say thank you to you ladies again for taking the time to join me week after week. And to the viewers, thank you for your time. So we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday at 8:30. So until then, be safe.